So African fashion is notorious for its prints. The prints are really what tells the stories about the designers, about the brands, about Africa in general, the colours and the prints. But what if you're using the print story, but you're not producing Africa? There's a whole discussion around made in Africa, African inspired. But I wanted to introduce one of the most notorious brands who uses prints and who's known for an array of beautiful prints and colours. So welcome to today's video. I'm Jacqueline Shaw, I'm your African fashion business coach, and I'll be guiding you through this video. Do make sure to subscribe to my channel. So once you do that, let's go and jump into the video. So welcome Catherine. Thank you for being here, for sharing, for everything. This is Catherine Addai of the brand Kayla K.
Yes, thanks for having me, Jacqueline. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. For those who know me, they know that I love Canada, and it's lovely to have you here to let me know what's going down in Toronto town. But yes, less about me and more about you. Tell us about your...
have to come back and visit, yeah.
I can't wait, girl. I can't wait. I'm there in a minute. Tell me about your brand. Introduce the watchers to your brand. When did you start it? Just a bit more about it. Introduce us to your amazing, beautiful brand.
Sure, thank you. So again, Catherine Addai, CEO and owner of clothing company Kayla K. Kayla K was started maybe about 6-7 years ago. It's actually named after my daughter. Her name is Michaela. So we took the Kayla from Michaela, and K is what my family calls me as a variation of Catherine. So put the two names together, and that's how I came up with the name for the brand. I've been working in the company now full time for the last almost 3 years. I quit my corporate job to focus. So I was a health information analyst for a major hospital here. I worked in the industry for 10 years. And while I was working and getting married and having children, I started the business. And then when we had our last baby, and I was on maternity leave, I just knew that something had to give, something had to go, and it couldn't be the kids, it couldn't be the husband, and it couldn't be the business. So the one thing that I knew I could let go of was the job to focus on running the business full time. So at that point, the business was growing significantly, and if I didn't kind of get control over it, I felt like it was growing without me, because so much was happening with it. I just wanted to be 100% more present. Had a lot of great ideas and connections and opportunities I want to take advantage of also. And I couldn't do that unless I was really fully in it, working on it full time. I felt like I was working on it full time and had a full-time job, and I was a full-time mom and everything else. It was a lot. It was overwhelming, and I needed to get my bearings back about myself and figure out, what to do and how to really grow it. So I quit and focused on the business, and I opened a retail store last year.
Oh, wow.
In Toronto, which I'm super proud of. It's this beautiful space. Wow. People can come in, purchase things right away off the rack, or come in and get something custom made. It's become a really wonderful spot for people to come and buy African fashion.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, wow, I think there's so many areas I'd love to know. The fact that you set up a shop, a physical shop. Oh, so much we can go into there. What made you decide to do that? Because you sell online as well.
Yes.
And so what was the driving factor that made you say, yeah, you know what, let's have a store? Is it because of where you're living is the right kind of decision for that? Or... Yeah, I think it's great, but just tell us, for those who are wondering, should they do a physical store or just stick to online? Tell us about that journey from why you made that transition as a designer.
Sure. So, it wasn't even anything that was on the growth plan. Even last year, it wasn't on the growth plan. I've been online predominantly, and then I would do pop-ups in the city in Toronto, and I would do pop-ups across the border in the US. And we saw the need for it, the growth, the amount of people that came out, especially in Toronto when we had the pop-ups. And people would always say, okay, well, where's your store? Where can I go and try things on and buy again? I don't want to wait for another pop-up. And I heard that so much. And I said, maybe if I find a spot and I pop up for a month and see how that goes. And then that turned into, oh, wow, like we've had a lot of traffic. Maybe we should consider having a retail store, because there isn't anything like that in Toronto. There are other African-inspired African designers in Toronto, but again, you have to purchase them online, wait for your shipping. And people just wanted a place to go to and try things on and pick up right away. And I worked out of my home, and with my kids growing, just the work-life balance of opening my doors to people, it wasn't working, wasn't functioning for us well anymore. And I said, I found the perfect spot in Toronto. The lease was reasonable. Landlords were great. And I said, let me throw caution to the wind. What's the worst that can happen? If it doesn't work out, you close up shop. You're still online anyway, right? Best decision ever. Best decision.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a space that's functioned as people coming in and purchasing off the rack, people coming in and doing custom orders. I also do shipping and packaging from there. I hold meetings there. I do my work there. So it's become an office space / a retail store. Yeah. So it's a multi-functioning space. And once I leave work, I can come home and I know that work is done and focus on being home and being with my family. That's it. So it's worked out really well also for work-life balance. Through that, I've gotten a lot of opportunities and experiences. I've been featured on several TV stations and interviews and opportunities that probably wouldn't have come along if I didn't have the retail space. And it's been great to just have the extra exposure for myself and just for fashion. Yeah.
Now I get you. But you've been running your business for how long? When was the year that you officially launched it?
Oh gosh, officially probably 7 years ago. Yeah.
So it's been a good 5-6 years before you launched that store. So you've given it the time to, and I love how you're talking about the fact that you tested it out with pop-up stores, which is an amazing way to test your audience first. But they interested in that. You heard other people saying, so you listen to your audience first again.
Yes.
Perfect. That's a businesswoman to the heart. But what were some of the challenges that you found over these 7 years of just being a fashion designer and then being what we would say an African fashion designer? What are some of the challenges that you found? And maybe it's the same challenges, but maybe it's, tell us about
in the beginning. I think a lot of designers face a similar challenge of not being known, not being well known, and just the lack of exposure. Especially being an African-inspired fashion brand, an African designer, I heard a lot of, we like your brand, we're just not sure where to place you in our retail store, or we're not sure where to place you within our customer base. Because before I opened the retail store, I did approach some stores in Toronto, some smaller boutiques, to ask if they would obviously carry my brand, and I got a lot of pushback. And it was, what I was told was, we're not sure if our client base would kind of gravitate towards this. We're not sure if this will work. And, my feedback was always, you don't know what will work unless you try to see if it'll work, right?
True.
How do you know if your client base will like it unless you ask your client base if they like this?
Exactly.
So however that can be read into, we'll leave that there. But out of that frustration, I was like, I know I have a strong brand. I know I'm pretty well known in the community. I have a really great product. I have a very, very strong online presence and social media, just even in terms of sales. And I showed all of this. So if you still don't want to partner with me, then I'm going to go off and do my own thing. And do my own thing has been a blessing. The scary thing about retail and opening your own store, a lot of designers say they're afraid of the overhead cost, right? Because you don't know what it's going to cost you when times are slow. You don't know if you're going to make your rent, if you're going to be able to pay your staff. And we crunched those numbers, and we were sure and confident that for X number of months or whatever, we're able to cover the rent, and we're able to bring people in and do X number of sales, and we even surpassed what we thought we were going to be able to do. And so for us, it's been, that move has been great. There is, again, no other store like in Toronto, so it wasn't like I had a book to follow. Even opening the store, I was kind of flying by the seat of my pants, and I managed to connect with some really great people and other entrepreneurs in the city that really helped the space come together. When you're the first doing anything, it's hard because there is no roadmap. But again, it's been a wonderful blessing. And the biggest challenge really was getting people to trust my brand, trust me enough to kind of take that chance on me. And when they did, I said, okay, I'll do my own thing.
But so those people that in your network, they helped you to get versed on speaking to buyers, how to introduce your brand to, because buyers can be very, very particular. And I mean, having worked myself with product buyers who are in-house, even they are particular, and they work in-house in the company that I've been designing for. And one thing is a lot about they only have so much space in their shop. And if they want to take you, that sometimes means they're pushing somebody else out.
Somebody else.
They're pushing out some other products. And then it's the figures, and then it's compared to positioning, all these things. Did somebody educate you on those things, or is just on how to present it, the figure, speaking their language? Did somebody teach you about that?
So no, but I mean, the way I connected with most buyers and or the owners of the boutiques themselves, it was really as simple as making a phone call, introducing myself, or sending an email. And most oftentimes the email worked, but I guess it gave them time to kind of look through the deck and get a sense of how strong I am in the community and the products that I offer. And then I was allowed, the part that, frustrating is you book a meeting and you come in, so you're aware of the product, only to turn it down. So it's almost like, so then, why almost go through with the meeting? But there was never any feedback to me about, lack of space. So even if that had been what I was told, maybe that would have been like, okay, maybe we'll connect again when you have more space. But really was just more of, we're not sure of our client base kind of gravitating towards this. Yeah. And some of them, I even said, literally, just give me half a rack. Give me half a rack. Let's just stock a few sizes that you think your customer base kind of purchases the most. And I can restock as things go, or make on demand, even if people purchase in your store. Yeah. So that you don't have to worry about a lot of space or purchasing too much inventory. I was even willing to do consignment.
That's what I was going to ask you. How were you discussing it? Was it more selling of demand, or was it you asked them to purchase product ahead? Because many don't want to use that money, do they?
Yeah, so, and being a small designer and a smaller brand, I totally understand taking that chance on me. Yeah, totally understand. And I said I will be more than happy to do consignment for a quarter. Kind of let's see how that goes. And if it works out well for me, then we can look at maybe you purchasing wholesale later. But it didn't work out. I'm not bitter about anything. It pushed me to do other things. It actually worked out really well in my favor and for the brand. And I have my own space. And in my space, actually, I also stock other designers who produce complementary things to what I do. So there's a purse designer called Kua, and she's based in Ghana. Okay. So I stock a few of her pieces in a local jewelry artist and craft designer here. She makes crowns, these beautiful crowns called Nubian Crowns by Tiffany. So I stock her pieces also, just for people to be able to purchase a dress, a purse, a crown, and look like the queen that you are. Yes. That's it. And part of my model, I'm continuing to source and discuss with other brands and artisans who, again, continue to do but complementary things to what I do. Yes. And if we can work together in the space, I'm happy to do that. That's amazing. I love that story. The fact that you're thinking as a businesswoman, but you're also thinking as a community to give others opportunity to get more market access or market entry, I guess, into new places. And also, you're thinking it must coordinate. It mustn't just be any old thing. It must sit well with your product. And I guess that is how a buyer thinks, that they have to coordinate, or it has to complement. Or complement. So that's really great you mentioned that. So let's talk about the actual products then, because like I mentioned, what's always made me look at your brand was the beautiful prints. All about the prints. That's what their brand, Kayla K, is all about, the prints. And it does make it stand out. For some, it might be too much. For some, it may be, that's what they're looking for. That's exactly what they want. So describe your brand. Describe the products for those who are new to you and your brand. Tell us a bit more about the products. Sure. So like you said with the prints, and I've heard that before, that customers have said when they see a Kayla K dress, they know it's a Kayla K dress, probably based on the types of print that I select and the cut of the item. So I am locally produced in Toronto, 3 wonderful seamstresses who make up the production team. So very, very small homegrown production team. I've known these ladies, maybe almost 10 years. 2 of them worked on my bridal party dresses when I got married 10 years ago.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yes. So I've known them for a very long time. Great addition to my team. The fabrics mostly are purchased local. I do have a supplier here, and that supplier sources from Africa and from Europe. So I do have a middle person here. And the reason I do that, so 2 things. One, it's a bit of it's an easier process to be able to say somebody here, he has a book, when something new comes in, he connects with me, I go in, I get, kind of the pickings of what I need before everything gets opened up to, the rest of the community, which is great because I can kind of get, access to what I need first. And I don't have to worry about the stress of the shipping from Africa or from Europe, and just kind of dealing with that. Two, I support locally here also. So he has a business and we've grown to become good friends. So I'm glad to also support him, and then he's able to in turn support whoever his supplier is in Africa or his supplier is in Europe. And then we all, we can all successfully run our businesses. So
you describe your brand on Instagram, you describe it as an eclectic brand for the modern woman. Yeah. But others who know you, there's some pieces that are obviously wax print, obviously African, what's known as African fabrics. So would you describe it, you haven't here, but would you describe it as an African brand? Would you describe it as an African business? Is that a major part of it for you? Is that what you want, the message that you want to come across?
So the biggest thing for me is that I am proudly a Ghanaian-born woman. So I'm African. Mm-hmm. And I wanted, when I first started the brand, so what I wanted was to show the prints, but in just a really more modern, eclectic, fun way for women of our generation. But then also by way of showing a bit of the history through the prints, because we all know African prints, some have names and, have ties to certain histories and tribes and those things. I wanted to show a bit of that, but really in a modern kind of fun way. I don't know what the definition of an African brand is. Is it because the designer's African? Is it because it's produced in Africa? I'm not produced in Africa. I again produced in Toronto. If for that case I'm African inspired, then I'm fine, with that definition. I do support Africa by way of obviously showing a bit of the heritage and the culture, and also again through my supplier who produces fabrics from Africa. And I've actually purchased fabric from Africa for past collections also. So in that way, and then of course supporting locally here in Toronto. It's a great question, and I don't know if people, I guess it's important to people to hang on to African or African inspired. I know a lot of designers are kind of maybe moving away from that lingo. They don't maybe want to be known as that, but to customers and consumers, some like that made in Africa. Does it have an African connection? Right.
It can be a sales point.
Those, yeah.
It can be a sales point. But I mean, overall, you could be positioned alongside other print designers if it's like Miu Miu or these kind of brands where it's very much different type of prints, but it's very much print focused.
Too, if you're an African designer but you don't work with prints, are you an African brand?
Well, this is a whole discussion. What makes an African brand African. As those who follow what we do, African Fashion Guide, we work with designers who want to literally be produced in Africa. But they could be like these t-shirts I've got right now. They're African cotton, grown by Africans, and it's organic, it's fair trade, it's African in that sense. And so that is part of its story. Some want to do things like that. They want to work with an artisan story. So it's great for that. You can celebrate the kind of artisan skills. But for many, they will use African inspired because it is a tagline, and this, for some it sells because that's, African women are buying their prints and they want that, and it's a celebration. So, but that's probably why, with what you're doing is very attractive. You're either going to love it because you love something that's in your face, because your prints are quite bold. They're not like the small, they're like, we're going big, you're saying we are here. So you're making a big statement with your prints, which is setting you apart from many different brands. That's what I really love about it. So you've created this amazing brand. How have you been able to sustain that over the last 7 years? I'm sure have you come to points you're like, I'm done. That's it. I've had enough. No more. Set me free. Or has it just been like woo, plain sailing the whole? No. How have you sustained that and grown your networks and sustained business?
So what you just said actually was really key. Grow your business, and it's been 7 years seems like a long time. I've been working again in it full time only for the last 3 years, and really in the last 3 years, it feels like a new company, even just like this reawakening. When you're in something full time as opposed to working on it while as a side hustle, as they say. It has not been easy, but it's been a steady growth and steady climb, which I'm grateful for. Versus when it's just this combustion and just this massive explosion, and you're struggling to get reins on it and struggling to kind of get a hold of the company and figuring things out. It's been a very steady growth. And when I first started out, I was, I guess, blessed enough to connect with a few people who were also kind of coming up on social platforms or within the industry, and we were able to band together and do shows together, do pop-ups together, network together, do events together to kind of grow our audience. One thing I've heard I've done well, so I'll take accolades for it, is that my brand has been very consistent, which I think is extremely key. It's very easy within the industry to get big eyes and see what else somebody else is doing and maybe fluctuate and kind of go do that because it's trending and do that because it's popular and hot, versus what's not right now and just being you. And it was important to me to be consistent and to be steady, because I know that I was building a customer base, and people who follow me, people who like me, will always follow and like for what the brand is. Just knowing that audience, remembering my story, remembering why I'm doing this, for who I'm doing this, and just staying on that roadmap and not getting swayed by trends and what's happening now and what's hot now.
How do you know? For me being a designer as my career, that's what we do. We look at this is what's coming next season, maybe when it was like the off-shoulder, flounce top and things like this. When it's a trend, it's like, I suppose there's some pieces you do pick up on, or you just completely just have your own silhouette and do your own thing. Or, how do you know? It's just a decision.
So that's a good question. So a lot of I do follow right now, the spring, summer, fall, winter collection season. But with prints, it's really hard because it's really all season, because prints are bright and beautiful throughout the year, depending on the style that you're making. Yeah. But I look at my stats and I go back and see what in the past has sold sold extremely well, what people were asking me to bring back. And I use that to kind of... so just looking back at past pieces in my collection have done extremely well, or that people keep asking back. Look at a lot too, and kind of see what's trending on our page of what people are liking, commenting on, and then bring back those styles but in different prints. I do have some silhouettes that are key for my brand that I don't sway from. Fit and flare. We do a lot of those. We do a lot of gather waist things. My brand's also probably known for a bit of modesty. So it's just a lot of high necks, maybe a slight V-backs, mostly have, sleeves, knee length kind of things for work, things for church, that type of woman. So I do crop tops and off-shoulder things sometimes, for spring, for summer, but not very many. But I don't sit there and read, cover to cover many pages of fashion magazines and see what's coming up and those things honestly actually cause me stress. Yes, having to abide by, this is what's coming out in the spring and summer, and this is hot. I'm like, no, you guys make me hot. Like I can't look at this, anymore. The only time maybe I'd say in terms of following quote unquote trends, if I can use this face mask that's happening right now, just in terms of where we are with the virus. So it's the masks have become a bit of a trend, but it's also a necessity. So we obviously started producing that for both reasons, right? So whether you buy it because you need it or you buy it because of fashion, you buy it. So we did that, but for the most part, I follow my gut of what I think my women would like to wear, or what their partners or whoever would buy for them based on past trends and what I would like to wear. And, sometimes we do surveys to see what people are looking for the upcoming season, where they're going, what's happening in their lives, and kind of just quick, short surveys of the pieces they'd be looking to add to their collections. It's great to listen to them and hear from them. And that sometimes influences the pieces that I include in the collections also.
So with that said, and you're not looking at trends and so forth, with the present climate that we're in, being COVID-19, regarding there's a lot of discussions. I've been watching a lot of these discussions from fashion industry people, and one of the talks are about the new seasons, the possible new seasons, and how the industry may change. But that's been a discussion I've been hearing all my career life: is it spring, summer, autumn, winter, or fall, winter? Is it 4 seasons or is it 2 seasons? And then you have brands like Zara who literally have seasons every 2 weeks because there's a new drop, and they just cruise.
Pastor Jackson, for 1 second, 'cause my baby's crying. I don't want that to be in
Oh,
their audio.
no worries.
I think my husband's just taking her.
Oh, okay.
I heard her crying. Okay, there we go.
So where there's different seasons, then you have brands like Zara, for example, who have multiple drops. You have cruise lines. You have so many drops that it just gets like, which one is? I remember as a designer, I'd be like, am I on spring 21, or I'm doing a production. I'm going to store for spring 20, but I'm doing production for spring 21. But then we're researching for spring autumn 20. And you just get like, where am I?
Yeah, and then like, if I normally drop quote unquote spring summer collections in March. By industry standard, that's very late. I'm I'm way behind, I like the idea of just dropping collections and calling them collections and having names. I know also that there's been a lot of discussion about getting rid of, like you said, seasonality, just kind of the names of spring, summer 2020 and whatever. I don't think that'll ever go away in the industry. It may not work for us, but I'm sure it works for a lot of other designers and a lot of other brands. I like the idea of, you want to drop 4 collections a year, drop 4 collections a year and call it, Kayla, whatever this collection, or Kayla, whatever that collection. So I've actually thought about that. But I also know that right now, consumers still think in that seasonality sense, right? So it's also going to be a bit of, it's going to take time if we do change those things for people to get used to, because people still do think of, I'm getting ready for the spring, summer, so I'm going to probably buy spring, summer things.
Exactly. So for those collections that you're bringing out, how do you start with that process? I mean, you get because you're getting prints which are coming from Africa, or the supplier is getting from there. Are you driven by your prints that you see that's available and then you design, or do you just say, these are my silhouettes, I want to have the next for spring 21, for example, and then when the prints are available, you're like, okay, that would be great with that dress, that would be great with our Zoe style or whatever the style is called. How do you work on that?
So that's a good question. I do both ways. So because of, depending on the season, sometimes I do have some sketches in my back pocket. I'm like, I know for sure these are going to be included. I just define the right print for it. And I've been stuck sometimes where I had a great design, but I just haven't found the right print. Right, so then that particular style doesn't make it into production because I just can't find the print that I think works well. And then I've also been to my supplier and I've seen something that a print I wasn't going to purchase, but I loved it. Purchased the print and then end up finding something, a design to go with it. But for every collection, I do always have a set of designs I've sketched that I'm pretty sure I'm ready to move forward with. Okay. And then other pieces do get added once I really excited and died. And I'm like, I have to include this print, but I just don't have the right style for it. But I'm gonna end up creating a style for it. So it's both ways, but I do always start with at least a small set of.
That's awesome. That's awesome. But one of the things that has happened, especially with brands and challenges that may happen, especially with working with prints and things that are on the market, that designers have is IP. This is one of the issues with Africa. We talk about African fashion. That's one of the issues with African fashion ownership. But generally for designers, it happened even with Louboutin, I think, with their red bottoms, and the type of red is like, really. But how have you have you had any IP issues, any challenges, legal issues with copycats, or people are inspired by your brand? Because I'm sure there's been many who use the silhouettes. I mean, how do you deal with that as a design company?
So, I have had those challenges. I guess maybe been fortunate. It hasn't been anything massive, but I'll give you some key examples. So before I say that, let me preface by saying, we know that there probably isn't a particular style that's ever new under the sun.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So we know that as designers, we pull ideas from maybe other designers and you kind of fix things, move things around to turn something into your own, right? So nobody really owns any one particular style. Kayla K doesn't own fit and flare style.
True.
It's a style that many other designers do. I just put my print to it and it becomes a Kayla K style.
Yeah.
But the issue is, which I've had happen to me, I had another designer take an exact style of mine down to the print, down to the color. Yeah.
They went there.
They went there, down to the print, down to the color, and reproduced it. And it wasn't just even mine. It was mine and some other designers also that I knew. It did become a bit of an issue, and we knew this person on maybe a bit of a personal level because we had, we were in the same circles and we knew each other. So when that collection came out, couldn't believe it. Didn't go as far as suing anybody, but I did reach out sternly and firmly to let them know how disgusted, how upset, how offended I was. Absolutely. And I obviously, like I said, I know that I don't own any style, but when you do that style, the exact same print, same color, then you're copying me.
Yeah. So how do you go about, what would you advise people to, I mean, of course they can do ways of protecting their designs and their company, but is there like some small tips you have in regards to making sure that you're the one who's known for these styles? Even if somebody still tries to copy, but keeping, your brand essence, your brand style. Is there any tips for designers who maybe they're students now, they're thinking, how could I make mine different and stand out so people know that is a Jacqueline Shaw brand, that's a Catherine Addai brand, that's a Kaela Kay, that's is there things they can do?
So, like I said when we were speaking earlier, people have said many times they see a Kayla K piece and they know it. They know it because of the quality. You can tell by looking at something.
Yeah.
Just in terms of what the quality is. So this particular designer that I'm talking about, even though the style was literally exactly the same, I could tell just even on the model that it wasn't an authentic Kayla K brand if you were to put the two pictures next to each other. The imagery, just the fit of it wasn't the same as a Kayla K outfit would be. So I would tell those designers, focus on the things that would make your piece stand out, would make your piece unique. It's your branding. Yes. Your pictures, how that's edited, and the story you're trying to tell around that. And of course, your production, make sure it's really, really good quality. So when people know whether they fall into the trap of purchasing this thing that looks like yours, they'll know that it's a knockoff. Okay. It's not an original Kayla K because it doesn't quality-wise look the same and doesn't quite fit the same. Yeah.
Gotcha. So any lessons that you've learned, like if you need to give like your younger sister or your daughter now wants to now have her own brand that is completely in her own name or a tip-off business from your main business, what tips and advice would you give to a new designer who wanted to start something today in 2020 post-COVID?
Yeah, so I mean, I would say what really helps me in my career, again, know what you want to do, where you want the brand to go, and the kind of brand that you want to be, and the kind of clientele and customer base that you want. It'll grow in terms of really knowing, from my example, knowing what type of woman your customer will be, but getting a good sense of that, and then thinking, how do you dress that woman? So what's happening in her, get to know her, what's happening in her life, where does she work, what's her personality? So really create the silhouette of a person and figure out as a brand, how do you cater to, dress, make clothes for, and sell to and market to that person. What really helped too in the beginning was a lot of networking.
Oh,
don't be afraid to shame. Yeah, don't be afraid and ashamed to put yourself out there. I know it's hard.
That's the way to start. It literally is. That's how I made my name out there, was when the events, when you can go to them, but generally networking. So don't be ashamed, as you were saying.
Don't be ashamed to network. Don't be ashamed to collaborate. In the beginning, when I literally had no money, we'll collaborate and barter with other artisans or other industry professionals, and we would share resources or share the cost of things. That's just the beginning until things obviously financially, pick up for you or whatever. yeah, so just make sure you network, know your brand, know who you are, where you want to get to. Don't be afraid to make mistakes because you will make many.
Welcome to business.
Welcome to business. In fact, I shouldn't even call it a mistake. Don't be afraid to learn.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to listen. It's okay to listen as a designer. So when I first started out and people would give me advice on certain things, I took offense to it. Because I said, it's not your creative.
So yeah, it's hard.
Especially when you're creative, we're really sensitive. We really take those things to heart. But I've learned to cautiously listen to what people are saying and then figure out if that works for my brand or not. Right? It's not every advice you have to take, but if you think it's worth listening to, then at least go ahead and listen to that and then figure out what works for you. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Listen to advice when you think it's appropriate for you, especially people maybe who've been in the industry longer. Find a mentor if you can.
Yes.
If you can, somebody who's been through it before, who has a little bit of time, they can kind of share with you and guide you a little bit. Don't be afraid to take risks, because nothing comes with taking risks. Calculated risks. Calculated risks.
Okay.
Don't quit your job to go do it full time if you really have nothing else to fall back on.
Would you change that though? Would you change that? Or would you still...
Quitting my job?
Yeah, you had your business to fall back on, I guess, but would you, quit your job again? Or would you wait 2 more years?
100% would quit my job again, and I quit my job at the right time. So if I had quit my job earlier, I would have... maybe it would have just taken me longer to maybe achieve where I am now. By the time I quit my job, we financially knew the business in terms of its capability and capacity and where we are with our numbers. For our family, we knew financially where we were, right? My husband obviously has a full-time job, so God forbid something happens, it comes to bust, the kids will be taking care of, the mortgage will get paid. And of course, opening the store financially too, I knew that it was the right move because I knew that I could sustain it. Hiring a staff, I knew was the right move because I knew that I could sustain it. So those are calculated risks that I took, but I knew from a financial standpoint, I knew what was coming in, what we had saved up, what we were able to do before I took those risks. I mean, again, like we said, I worked on the business for 5 years as a side hustle before I quit my job.
And mostly you. I know if you have, I don't know, I mean, did you have a VA, PA, or assistant designer person, or
no?
You. So that's the reality. Is you're doing all the things all the time, and learning new things like digital, email marketing. I mean, all your social. Are you doing it, or you have somebody now?
So social, I do have somebody that supports me with social, and I have someone that supports me with customer service. So in terms of my email, and then I now when the store, because the store opened and we're growing more, I do have someone at the store, and they also help with packaging and shipping. Because again, at this point, I can't do everything.
No, too much.
Yeah. So again, it took time though for me to find the right people and the right time to know when I can bring other people in to support me. And don't be afraid to do that too. I know as entrepreneurs, because it's our business and it's so dear to us, we're afraid to let go and delegate.
Yeah, delegation is.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's trusting, and if you're used to doing things yourself, I'm so glad you mentioned about that, because growing your team is so important. But it's the time making that transition. It can be hard for somebody when you're so used to it. I'll just do it myself. It's taking so long. I'm like, I don't feel it. But I'm sure you've had that feeling like, why is this girl taking so long to do this?
It wasn't done right. If I had just done it myself, oh my God, this was wrong, this is wrong. But that's a part of learning for them also. And you are one person and they are one person.
Yes.
Right? So the point is that the vision for the company is the same. The way that you both operate obviously will be different because you're two very different people. And I don't think anybody in life will have the heart and will treat your baby business the way that you do. And that's something we have to remember. But people come close, and people that I work are wonderful, work with are wonderful, and they obviously come very close into learning for me to be a boss and a manager and have somebody else be doing certain things for me. And they've all learned because of company culture, that I've set, obviously, how we treat customers, how we deal with our clients, how we deal with our suppliers, how we respond to emails. That company culture is already there. So they're just kind of coming in and picking up on that.
But that's another good point, because it's setting things in place. Because for others to come in, usually they can't always see your vision because it's in your head. Then it's good that you've got your collections, it's out. People can see it. But there's always things in our head that people just we're so in our heads a lot of the time with it, and with the new ideas, next ideas, people can't always grab that. But because you set out some kind of system of like the culture, as you call it, is you set that for them.
Yes.
They know this is how their social should be. This is how customer service. You answer the phone this way. You do packaging. This must go in. It must be folded over, etc. So you had that system. And I think you saying those remind of the importance of when you're building your teams. You first needs to sort out your systems. How do you want this done? Do you have a scheduling for your emails to go out? Do you have a system, like I said, for packaging and all that stuff? And yeah, I'm really glad that you brought
that. Also part of your branding and your image too, right? So I know that I want my brand to be socially seen a certain way, but also when you purchase something from me, I want from the time you purchase something from me, the communication that comes to you, I want that to be in line with what you see online. And when you get your package, I want you to be just excited about that as excited as you were as when you purchased online. So all of that working together, you set that before anybody else even comes onto your team, because I've already built that culture. So somebody else coming in knows, oh, this is a serious place. It's a serious business, and customer service is important, and packaging doesn't seem like it's a big deal, but it's a big deal. And the way it just, because it speaks to who you are as a person, it speaks to you who you are as a company, and it speaks to kind of the value we put on the product and the value that I put on my company.
I love it. These tips, these insights for designers to see exactly how it should be done, especially like 7 years into the business. That's great steps that you've taken and measures that you've put in place, and just where you've reached as a brand. I do have to accolade you on that. But is there anything coming up next? I know that we're here where we are right now, but maybe your plans have been changed a little bit, or pushed further back. But anything that you've got planning next? Are you launching a summer range? Is it out already? Tell us a bit about what's coming next that you want to share.
Sure. So I did have to cancel a few pop-ups in Toronto and in the US, obviously due to the pandemic. But I'm so looking forward to picking that back up again at the right time. We were thinking possibly the fall, but again, that's not set in stone. It's really, we'll see how that goes in terms of people being comfortable, and us being able to cross-border travel and all those things. So if not this year, for sure, we'll do some kickoff big thing next year. I do have some summer pieces, a small capsule collection that's coming out next month. So coming out in June. Okay. So I'm thinking as people are coming out of quarantine, because eventually we will come out of quarantine. As people are coming out, we want to lay the ladies with some new, fresh pieces. So looking forward to that, which is going to be interesting and creative because we can't shoot anything right now. Because obviously we are still in quarantine. So just kind of figuring out the challenge of how is that going to work out. So we'll see, but do have something coming out. And of course, a fall collection that drops in September. And then something for Christmas that comes out in November. So in terms of that schedule, we're going to keep that and still on pace, but the larger gatherings of the pop-ups, it's looking like it probably will be next year. If we can squeeze something in for the fall, we will. But if not, no stress. We're going to do it really, really big and bad.
The famous word right now, you pivot. You look at new ways to do this slightly like that.
And right now we're online. So obviously online is open 24/7. So feel free to communicate with us, connect with us online, email. We're great at responding on Instagram also. Customer service reps are amazing. For a short period of time, we are obviously offering free shipping right now. So take advantage of that. And we just look forward to kind of just connecting with everybody and just sharing more of us and what we have coming up.
That sounds awesome. I mean, all the details are below. So if you're watching this video, do make sure to check out the links to Kayla K and the beautiful clothing that eclectic modern woman. If that's you, then get buying. Get buying. It's been such a pleasure to have you here, Catherine. I really appreciate your time. Away from your family for a little while so we can have this talk, and wish you every success as we transition out of this period and we can get back to into the new normal.
Into a new normal.
Life a
Yeah.
different way, but
Yeah.
we're creatives. We find new ways to do things. So
We do. And new normal, doesn't always have to be bad. Times like this is when, creatives really come into their own and figure out how to best support people and how to best support their clients and their customers. And that's what we've been trying to do. So yeah, the new normal, we're going to ride the wave and we're going to move with it. And you and I have never met, so it'd be great one day. Whether I come to London, you come to Toronto, something.
It's happening. Either way, I'm going to pull you here and I will definitely be over there. So don't you worry. Somehow soon. But bless you. Thank you so much. And all the best.
Thank you so much.
So for those watching, I said I'm Jacqueline Shaw. I'm the African Fashion Business Coach. This is your weekly videos here on YouTube. Do make sure to subscribe to the channel. I drop a new video every Thursday. You're going to love them. Do trainings, we do interviews, and showing you how you can set up your own fashion business, made in Africa, or an African-inspired fashion business, may it be so. I'll see you on the next video.